It's so frustrating when you say something to your partner or your loved one and they hear it as something completely different. So annoying to have that experience of being misunderstood again and again and again. And perhaps even they are having the same experience the other way around. Maybe you've heard yourself or your partner or your loved one saying, "That's not what I meant." If that sentence is familiar to you, then this episode is for you. And it's especially for those who have been on a journey of self-discovery for a while now. You have been looking within and you're still finding that in communication, that's where you lose your rag, you get lost, and you lose that beautiful connection that is what you're really looking for in your relationships. So stay tuned to hear how we can move towards more clarity and closeness and authenticity and compassion in your communication. So if, like me, you have been on a journey of inner work for many years now, like perhaps you've gone to therapy, perhaps you have done a lot of meditation, finding inner awareness, inner child work, all sorts of different things. And yet you do notice that in your intimate, closer relationships, perhaps with your partner or your loved ones, you're still arguing in a way that doesn't make sense. It's like, what on earth is going on here? How come we keep misfiring or missing each other like ships in the night? They say this and I say that, and it doesn't make sense why we keep arguing. Very often I hear couples come to me because I'm a mediator, so I work with couples, I support them to understand each other. And I have couples coming to me saying, it's like everything I say, they hear it as something else. That frustration of the other person hearing what you say as different from what you meant it. And if that's happening in both directions, then it can be very hard to find that safe, relaxed place where you can trust each other in your relationship and connection can flow. So today I want to talk to you about the magic that happens when we can alchemize our experience of misfiring and mismatching in communication into a deeper connection where communication can flow between us in a very natural and beautiful way. So I'd love to welcome you to the last episode of Let's Talk Heart to Heart, because from the next episode onwards, we will be under a new name, which I will reveal at the end of the episode. So my name is Emma Buggy, and I am a relationship coach. I am truly passionate about supporting people to bridge that gap where there's disconnection and find that closeness where intimacy can flow and people can feel heard and met and understood. Because for me, the tragedy is that when there's misunderstanding, we miss the beauty of the message that is being held on either side. And when I can learn how to truly listen to the message of my own heart and the message of your heart, that's where we can dance in a connection that feels alive, authentic, compassionate, and real. And that's what I'm very, very passionate about supporting people to do. So let's dive into this connection alchemy. So like I said, it's painful when my partner, my loved one, misunderstands me. Let's look at a recent example. So I have a very painful memory in a past relationship where I was asking my partner to listen to me. And I said something like, "You never listen. Can you just listen for once?" And then my partner just went into silence and listened silently for 5-6 minutes. And it was like the facial expression was like, I'm going to zip my mouth now and not say anything. And then I got really annoyed because I was like, you see, you're not listening now. Can you see the tragedy in that? Both of us did not understand what I meant by "you never listen." I was not being clear in my request. I was actually asking for something in the form of a judgment. So rather than me saying, I would love to know that I'm heard and understood, would you be willing to listen to me for 5 minutes? And after that, tell me what you've heard, you've understood. And then I'd be happy to hear you too. Instead of me offering that clear, concrete request of what it is that I'm actually looking for, I blamed my partner and said, you never listen. And then left it up to him to figure out what listening looks like, which in his response was basically to shut up and zip his mouth closed and look at me like, okay, now I'll be silent. I won't say anything. Whilst kind of pretending that he's listening or trying to listen from this forced, strained way, which made it then very hard for me to trust that he was actually listening or wanting to listen. And of course, on his side, he was probably really confused, hurt, and unsure of how to show me that he cares and that he's listening, and also how to do it out of a place of choice within himself, rather than from this expectation that he needs to do something different, which was coming from my judgment. So in that example, we can see the tragedy that happens when we don't express ourselves clearly and ask for what we really mean, and also the tragedy that happens when we are listening to our partners on the other side and responding out of fear or out of judgment or out of punishment and reward. So that's why I'm here. That's why I do the work that I do. And that's why I'm really passionate about what I believe is the magic, the alchemical reaction that can happen when we learn how to truly and deeply connect with one another. So let's look at the word alchemy. Alchemy is the alchemical reaction that happens when we take a base metal and turn it into gold or turn it into something precious. It's that response of taking something basic and turning it into something magical and beautiful. At least that's my relationship to it. And for me, that's what's happening when we learn how to communicate our needs and listen to each other with compassion. Because when I actually take that sentence of you never listen, which is the base metal, the metal that's kind of murky and doesn't quite make much sense, and it's all mixed in with judgments and ideas of shoulds and shouldn'ts. And I bring a lens of compassion and authenticity, so compassion towards myself, who's saying you never listen, and towards the other who's receiving that message of you never listen. So I bring this compassion and this curiosity, and I go, what's my authentic heart really trying to say? What's the authentic, beautiful message, the beautiful gold that wants to come through? The alchemy that needs to happen in that process is really quite magic. And when that alchemy does happen, that process of translating this base metal, you never listen, into something more compassionate and honest and true from a vulnerable place, it can sound more like, wow, I notice in this moment that I feel sadness in me and frustration because I so deeply want to have that experience of being heard and understood. I wonder if we could try this instead. Can you listen to me for 5 minutes and then tell me at the end what you've understood from what I'm saying? And then we can switch and I'll also hear you. There's many other ways, by the way, that I could express that. That was just one of many. But I wonder if you can feel the difference there. So for me, connection, alchemy, the alchemy that happens when we truly connect is when we dive into a place where so many more possibilities are reachable. And this is where I begin to feel more intimately close to myself and to my loved ones. Because when I'm in that place where there's more curiosity around where is the aliveness in me that wants to be expressed, where is that beautiful golden message that wants to come through, and I have that same curiosity towards you, what's that beautiful golden message that you're caring for that's behind all of this judgment, frustration, ignoring, distance, blame? What's that beautiful golden message that you're caring for? And when we both stay in that curiosity, in that belief that there is a golden message on both sides, for sure, that there is a vulnerable and beautiful truth that each of us is protecting, holding on to, and trying to express. And we just haven't learned how to do it. But we are. And I believe that. That's where relationships transform for me into something so much more meaningful, so much more beautiful. Because in that dance of compassion and honesty, anything is possible. I can now speak to you about my absolute truth, what my heart is really saying. I can now relax in this relationship knowing that I matter because I'm proving to myself that I matter to me. Knowing that you matter because I'm proving to you that you matter to me. I'm moving into this interdependent place where both of our needs matter. And that makes so much more space for joy, for aliveness, for passion, for realness to flow. And I just want to bring one more awareness to where the tragedy comes from that we disconnect, why it's so hard for us in society to reach that alchemical reaction where the golden message can be found in each of us. And that is because we are seeped in a culture, in a society around us, in every direction. We are born into a culture of blame and judgment and othering and better than and less than. And so if we can become aware of this systemic impact that our child selves have been born into, then we can already begin to have that lens of compassion, not just towards ourselves, but towards all beings that are lost in the mistranslation of life and that are searching for their own way back to that alchemical reaction, that connection from within and from without, where the golden message lives. So I hope that you've enjoyed this meandering through the beauty that can happen when we find a common language. And if you're still wondering, so how do I actually do that? How do I touch that connection alchemy in my relationship? How do I find a way to really translate those murky base metal messages into something gold so that my partner can truly hear me, so that I can truly hear them? Then I invite you to follow me. Do keep an eye out for my upcoming workshops. I have one starting very soon. So have a look at my website, www.empathart.com. The link is in the chat notes. And we will be changing that website very soon as we are rebranding. So keep a lookout for the new website name. And don't worry, everything will be redirected to Empath Art from Empath Art anyway. So I hope that you've enjoyed this session and thank you for following me.